Gotta get better with this. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Housing Authority meeting for the City of Salem on Monday, March 27th, 2023. Would the recorder please call the roll?
Commissioner Nishioka.
Present.
Vice Chair Phillips.
Here.
Commissioner Gwynn.
Here.
Commissioner Gonzalez, absent. Commissioner Hoy.
Here.
Commissioner Nordike, absent. Commissioner Varney.
Here.
Chair Stapleton.
I'm here. Great, thank you. Would everybody please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you. We have, do we have any additions or deletions?
Not tonight.
Thank you so much. We have nobody signed up for public comment. The consent calendar.
I move the consent calendar, which consists of 3.1A, the February 27, 2023 draft Salem Housing Authority minutes. And that concludes the consent calendar.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any discussion? Would the recorder please call the roll?
Commissioner Gonzalez, absent. Commissioner Hoy.
Aye.
Commissioner Nordike, absent. Commissioner Varney.
Aye.
Commissioner Nishioka.
Aye.
Vice Chair Phillips.
Aye.
Commissioner Gwynn.
Aye.
Chair Stapleton.
Aye. Motion passes. All right, we have no public hearings, no special orders of business, but we do have Nicole Oots here, our Housing Authority Administrator. There's the word I was looking for. And I would love to hear your update and answer any questions that folks have. But we do have a couple of things that I know you're going to hit on. One is about Uquina Hall, which is some really great news. And also we have some cross over between the city council agenda and ours here, and that's about our resident commissioner that we're going to be bringing on board. So I'd love to hear you talk a little bit about those two things. Great, thank you so much. Anybody have any questions? All right, well, seeing none, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Well, good evening. I'll call this meeting of the City Council for the City of Salem for Monday, March 27th, 2023 to order. If the recorder will please call the roll.
Counselor Stapleton?
I'm here.
Counselor Nishioka?
Present.
Counselor Phillips?
Here.
Counselor Gwynn?
Here.
Counselor Gonzalez, absent. Counselor Hoy?
Here.
Counselor Nordike?
Here.
Counselor Varney?
Here.
Mayor Hoy?
Here. All right, Councilor Stapleton, do we have any additions or deletions to the agenda?
Not tonight.
All right, I do note that on item 3.3B, we have a report added. But we don't need a motion for that, I don't believe. Or do we? No, we're good. All right, it is time for council and city manager comments. I wanted to just kick it off briefly, and I want to introduce to you all, for those who haven't met, Connor Mullaney. He is here with us in the audience today. He is an intern in my office. Stand up, Connor. He's a junior at Willamette University working on homelessness issues, working really closely with Gretchen Bennett. We're really excited to have Connor. He's also the varsity basketball coach at McKay High School, and he's a junior at Willamette. So he's got a lot of things going on. We're really excited to have him in the mayor's office. So thanks for being here, Connor. All right. I also just wanted to mention that several of us were able to attend last week the groundbreaking for Mahonia Crossings, which is a really exciting project out in South Salem in the Battle Creek area. It's affordable housing, intergenerational, or multiple, I think they're calling it all generations affordable housing. A really exciting project out there. And then on Saturday, I attended I'm not sure what they call it, the dedication of a Habitat for Humanity home to the Marty family out in South Salem. And it was the final house in I think it's a 20-some unit development of single-family homes. And this completed that project out in South Salem. It was really exciting to see those folks get the keys to their new house. Looking forward to working on more of those projects with Habitat for Humanity. So, and with that, before we get to councilor comments, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Staley. I've asked him to ask the chief to talk to us for a few minutes about a recent article in the newspaper. I thought it would be good for us to hear from him directly. So, Mr. Staley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Keith Staley, your city manager. This evening, I've asked Chief Womack to come to the microphone and provide some perspective on an article that was recently in the Statesman Journal. The headline is disturbing at best, and it's certainly not a headline that the Salem Police Department or the city of Salem wants to be associated with. And I thought that it would be appropriate for the chief to come and provide some more explanation. But I would like to highlight one particular paragraph that quotes Chief Womack. He says, "Those families have experienced incredible loss that we acknowledge." Womack said, "We want to do the best we can to take care of everybody in these situations and then learn from the situation as best we can so that we can carry information forward as far as how we may make adjustments in the future." And Chief, if you can help us further understand where we're going, and thank you.
Great, thank you all. Mayor, Councilor, City Manager, I appreciate the opportunity to speak to this very important topic for our community. Obviously, it's important to all of us. As you touched on there with that quote, City Manager, I'd like to just start off by saying, just acknowledging the fact that these are tragic incidents when they occur, so they're sensitive topics to discuss as well. I want to make sure I put that out there. They affect, obviously, the families that are involved. When individuals are killed in a use of force encounter, they also affect our officers deeply when these incidents occur. No officer starts their day or a shift or enters their career wanting for something like this to happen, and so it's traumatic for the officers and their families as well. It affects our department, and it affects our broader community. So I just wanted to state that right up front. The article, the bit headline grabbing, the the basis of this article was that the per capita number of officer-involved shootings or deadly force encounters in Salem was higher than two of our comparable cities. And so anytime you have numbers that appear disparate like that, they're going to draw our attention and concern, and rightly so. And so this is concerning for us as an organization, and we've been looking into this. But more importantly, the numbers just draw your attention. They don't tell the story. And so more importantly is to take a look at each and every single incident as far as the circumstances that occurred. I'm going to review and assess each one and learn from it. And so where you would start there, for example, for us is more of a criminal assessment that occurs for each of these. The first step in the process for review of these, you want to determine if our actions of our officers were lawful. Right? And here in Oregon, we have a very good process. You'll hear it referred to as the SB 111, Senate Bill 111 process, where each county, we have some other county partners in the room with us too, has a process in place for how to investigate officer-involved shootings. So in Polk County and Marion County, that process is very well established and it works very well. And in essence, what it does is through the district attorney's office leadership of the investigation, an outside agency is brought in to investigate that incident. So we don't investigate our own officer-involved shootings. And so the outcome there is a determination of whether the officer's actions were lawful and justifiable. In all the cases here that we're talking about in this article, that was the case. They were all lawful actions by our police officers. So the next step deeper than that is to learn from each incident as far as were the actions within our policies? Were the officer's actions within policy? And were they in accordance with our standard training and procedures? And so in these cases, that type of review occurs as well. And we learn each along the way. And so it's important to dig into each one of those circumstances. And what's notable here, I want to point out, is that for our last three, these aren't large numbers in the grand scheme of things. When you look at 2022, there's just a few incidents that occurred. Three of our last fatal or officer-involved shooting incidents involved individuals shooting at police officers. Okay, so that's what I mean as far as digging into the context of each situation. When someone points a gun at a police officer and pulls a trigger, the only response that's going to occur is deadly force in return, right? That's what officers are trained and equipped to do. That's what I frankly expect them to do in that situation for protection and preservation of their own lives and the lives of our community members. And so three of the last officer-involved shootings involved individuals shooting at police officers. So I think it's important to understand that context as well. And stepping back into the broader context of what's happening in our community, across our nation and other cities too, is violent crime is increasing. And so as violent crime increases, of course, the risk of violence with officers increases as well. You have to be aware of that context. When you dive a little deeper, the data also shows that assaults on our police officers are on the rise as well. And so the very officers that are charged with intervening in the violent crime are also experiencing increased levels of assaults on their own persons. Last year, we had 100 documented incidents of officers being assaulted in our community. So we rightly so hear about these fatal uses of forces. Of course, we should. But I think it's not much less known that with the community, the amount of violence that's directed against our officers that occurs fairly regularly. So it's a complicated issue when you start to dig in a little deeper. But this is all not to say that we're not learning and trying to improve. And we're not doing things today just because of an article that happened this weekend. This is work that's been ongoing for 2 years or more that I've been involved in and we've been dedicating ourselves to as an agency. You do that, how do you lower risk for any type of force encounter, especially fatal use of force encounters? Primarily, you want to look at policy and training and accountability measures, and we're working on all three of those. So, for example, policy adjustments we've made just in the recent past. Last year, we adjusted our pursuit policy to where we will no longer actively engage in vehicle pursuits unless there's some crime of violence that has occurred, or there's articulable facts knowing that the person that's driving that vehicle is a violent threat to our community. So there has to be some sort of violence connection to that pursuit now. So those type of things, those policy decisions can lower the risk for these type of encounters for occurring. That's an example of policy. Also within policy, we've been reviewing how we approach high-risk encounters in general. One of the incidents in the past year involved a young man that was involved and wanted for 2 shootings, and unfortunately, he decided to shoot at our police officers when we tried to arrest him, and that was the result of that incident. But planning those arrests actually out, when we know someone's wanted for a violent crime like that, when the risk is very high, we want to make sure that the right people with the right training and right equipment are involved. So we've done some policy adjustments there. Again, not that we did anything wrong in that specific case, but as we are always assessing ourselves, we made some policy adjustments there to where we implemented a new risk assessment tool to help assess the risk level in that planned encounter. We created some separation between our investigative units and the tactical units that will make those safety tactical decisions as far as how that arrest occurs. So we've been making policy adjustments like that are all about lowering the risk for these encounters. And then training. Even in the article, it talked about the ICAT training that we brought here to Salem. So we are a leader in Oregon, actually, with bringing that training here. It took a year to get those trainers here, but you hear a lot nowadays about de-escalation training and crisis intervention training for law enforcement. We want to do what works. So we're after evidence-based approaches to this type of training. So when we scan the horizon for what are the most promising training curriculum that are out there right now in law enforcement, we found ICAT. The research, early research on that shows that it has positive effects on de-escalation of incidents. And so we worked for a year to bring ICAT trainers here, and we hosted the training in Salem in our brand new police facility. We had officers from California and Washington and Oregon coming to our city to receive this Train the Trainer course last year for ICAT. ICAT stands for Integrating Communications and Tactics. It was developed by the Police Executive Research Forum on the East Coast. So we hosted that training, and we trained a lot of new trainers here in Oregon, including 5 within our own agency last year. We just now began this year having our trainers now permeate that new training within our organization across all our various different training cadres. So that's training. It takes time for these things to play out and take effect. But we're leading with our training as well. And then finally, accountability measures. It took 2 years of work. We put body cameras on this year, things like that. Real practical steps that can introduce higher levels of accountability on both sides of an interaction, actually, to hold ourselves accountable. So we're working, again, around policy, training, accountability. But again, couldn't just emphasize enough that numbers draw your attention, but you really have to dig into the details. What are behind those numbers and the driving factors? Our last 3 officer-involved shootings were suspects shooting at the police. There's no de-escalation training in the world. There's no magic words that'll stop a bullet. And so the only response to deadly force is deadly force in a split-second decision. But that's 3 cases right there just in the past year or so. So happy to take any questions as well, but I definitely want to reassure everyone we're taking this seriously. We're taking active steps to try to lower risk wherever possible.
Thank you, Chief. Are there any questions? Councilor Varney.
Thank you. I was curious, how is the ICAT training different than traditional training?
It definitely involves much more scenario-based training, right? So it's actually putting officers in role-based scenario situations to where they can approach situations where, let's say, somebody's armed with a knife in crisis or in an agitated state, how the officers respond to that call to try to de-escalate the situation. And then also, how do officers communicate and coordinate for the tactics that might be necessary and involved, right? To try to slow things down and pause to make sure you have the right training, the people with the right training equipment there to help as needed if there's a tactical situation that develops. So it's much more focused on role play exercises, not just classroom setting. And again, just like the name implies, kind of really integrating the communication piece and the assessment of what's happening with the right types of tactics in what can be rapidly evolving situations and scenarios.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Other questions for the Chief? All right. Thank you, Chief. We appreciate you taking the time to put some context around that article. We appreciate it. Are there other councilor comments? Councilor Stapleton.
Thank you so much. Just really quick, I wanted to congratulate you, Mayor, on a wonderfully delivered State of the City. We all were able to join you in that. I think that was just this last week, was it?
It was.
Time has been going by really fast lately, but it was really wonderful to be with all of you on that stage and watch you really represent what the hard work that the City Council has been doing and city staff. I really appreciated the fact that you highlighted our city staff there at the beginning and really thanked them for their hard work, and I want to reiterate that here in this forum. Just so thankful for all of you. I was sitting up there waiting for the meeting to start today, just looking around the room at all of the wonderful folks that we have here, and just really a privilege to work with you guys. So thank you so much for all your hard work, and thank you, Mayor, for representing our city so well in the State of the City.
Oh, thank you, Counselor, and thank you all for being there. It was a good team effort. Like I told the folks at Mahonia Crossings opening the other day, you know, I get to be the face of the city oftentimes, but really there's 1,350 employees and 8 city councilors standing behind me doing all of the work. Like I'm just the face oftentimes, but there are 1,358 people that I bring with me to every conversation. So thank you. Other questions or comments? Councilor Hoy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Might not sound like a big deal, but a trash-filled Target cart was left in front of our business overnight. I gloved up and emptied the trash. I pushed the cart across a quiet Lancaster Drive through the Wendy's parking lot where I found another. I fit the two together and pushed my way through to Target. An employee sweeping up trash out front thanked me for bringing them back. I threw my gloves in the trash and began to walk back to the restaurant. I spotted 3 more carts along the way. I wished I still had my gloves, but I just didn't have any more time to give that today. I spent just a few minutes back at the restaurant, grabbed my coffee, and while on a call, I headed out the door. That fast, someone had settled in front of our place. Within arm's length lay a woman. Her piano blankets and trash around her, plastic-wrapped pastries, and a bottle of isopropyl alcohol to drink. "You can't stay here," I said. "Is there anyone I can call to come and get you? Would you like me to call a cab and get you to a shelter?" She struggled to form words, but said no. Slowly she rose and gathered her goods. She was dirty, head to foot. She smelled horrible. My heart broke. She deserves better. She deserves real services that reach the root of her problems. Her name was Diane. Under my breath, as she limped away, I whispered, "I'm sorry." There has to be more we can do. City, county, and state need to come to the same table and make a unified plan. I'm asking for help and willing to do the hard work. More money is not the answer. As I see it, compromise and cooperation across all jurisdictions is the only way to lift this. Separately, we are divided and picking away at a mountain. Individually, we are limited, but together, anything is possible.
Thank you, Councilor. Any other comments? Councilor Nordyke.
Good evening, one and all. I'm sorry you can't join you in person tonight. So a couple of things that I wanted to add. I do want to pick up on the chief's remarks and just take this as an opportunity to remind folks of the urgent need to diversify and really complete our public safety spectrum. We need mental health professionals responding to people experiencing a mental health crisis. We need them not only to send the right tool to the right job, but to free up our law enforcement and our firefighters and our EMTs for other higher priority calls. We need these mental health professionals to relieve the burden on our emergency rooms as well. And we should be working with our counties to make this happen. Mental crisis teams are already a thing in cities around the country. In at least 4 cities, they are already in place or coming to fruition in Oregon right now. Eugene, Beaverton, and many others around the state and around the country are working hard at this. And to me, this is just an important reminder of the fact that we need to complete the public safety spectrum. It's not just putting out fires. It's not just chasing down bad guys and robbers. We have folks who are struggling with mental health issues, with drug addiction, with homelessness. And we need to send the right professional to the right job. That's it. And we should be working with the counties to do that. I know that the city of Bend is already partnering with Deschutes County to provide additional funds to ensure that they have 24/7, 365-a-day coverage of mental crisis that is led by civilians to respond to crises that are appropriate for a civilian to respond to. We already have 911, we already have 988, but what about for individuals who aren't committing a crime? Because remember, homelessness is not a crime. Mental illness is not a crime. So we need to be sure that we are completing that public safety spectrum by adding a mobile crisis team And I stand ready to work with my peers on council and our peers in county government to make that happen. The next thing I wanted to address is kind of sort of related, but Child Abuse Prevention Month is coming up. And I want to make sure that you all are aware of some important things that you're going to see. Child Abuse Prevention Month is the month of April. And every year, a variety of community partners get together to show our support. And that includes Salem Police Department. It also includes the Marion County Sheriff's Office. It includes the Boys and Girls Club, Catholic Community Services, the YMCA, Liberty House, CASA of Marion County, the family building blocks, the list goes on and on. And so in the coming weeks, you're going to be seeing signs of all these community partners coming together to support child abuse prevention. As some of you may or may not know, nearly 11,000 children experienced child abuse in the year 2021 statewide. That is far too many, far too many. So for Child Abuse Prevention Month, you're going to see a few signs around the city. You're going to see blue lights on the Union Street Bridge. You're going to see blue lights at the Salem Police Station. You're going to see blue ribbons hanging in a tree at Riverfront Park. And on April 7, I hope you will join us for our car parade. I had Councilor Varney participate in this last year. Thank you, Councilor Varney, for participating and joining me in the car parade in my vehicle. But a whole bunch of us got together. We meet up this year, Friday, April 7 in the morning at the Oregon State Fairgrounds Pavilion parking lot. We have a little speech, we do a little photo, but we're all there to show our support for awareness and prevention, to show that this community supports all children and that no child should suffer in silence. So we all get in our cars and then we make our way downtown. And so stay tuned because you're going to be seeing some social media posts from a variety of community partners in the area. And I look forward to participating in all of that. But for today, mark your calendars for the morning of Friday, April 7th for the annual Child Abuse Prevention Car Parade. This is a great way for our city and our entire community to come together. And I hope to see you all there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. I guess I just have to respond to the first part of your comments just to say that I would hate for the record to show that there was an implication that we haven't been working with our county partners on mobile crisis, because I think, as you know, we've been working very hard with our Marion County partners and our Polk County partners to make sure that we do have mobile crisis here in our city. And I know that those plans and those efforts are well underway, and it's really a situation where our county partners are taking the lead, and we are doing our best to support them. I do know that they are having staffing challenges, but they are working hard to make sure that we have mobile crisis here in our community. So I just wanted to make sure that that was clear. Are there any other councilor comments? All right, we will go then on to, we have no proclamations, so we'll go then to presentations. So tonight we have with us Sheriff Mark Garton to talk to us for a few minutes. And I believe we have also Commissioner Mordhorst and also District Attorney Aaron Felton, all from Polk County. Sheriff, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
If you could be sure and just hit that, there you go.
Got it. Mr. Mayor, members of council, appreciate the opportunity to come in and just talk to you about the public safety levy that is up for renewal in May for Polk County. A little history, brief history. 2013, 2014 timeframe, we were working 10 hours a day. That was it. If it happened outside of those hours, somebody got called out from home. A levy came up for voter approval in May of 2015, and that ended up passing. And what that levy provides to us is 14 patrol deputies, 4 deputies in our jail and 1 civilian in our jail, 3 deputy district attorneys, and 2 support staff for the district attorney's office. It also provides for a rental of a juvenile detention bed. Let me figure out how to move this real quick here. I don't know if that's gonna.
Do you need some technical help?
No, I'll wing it. It's fine.
Sure?
Can you put it on the screen? Sure. They got people. So what this levy actually does for us, on the 14 patrol deputies, that's half of my staff. I have 28 deputies, including myself, so that is half of my staff. And unfortunately, we have to come out for this every 5 years because the levies only allow for 5 years at a time. However, you'll notice we're coming out in year 4. And the reason for that is for continuity. We really want to make sure that staff knows that their job is secure, not waiting up until the last day, 30 days before the election or after the election, and all of a sudden it goes away. We have too much time, effort, money invested into all our staff that we've hired since this levy started. The current levy is up to 42.5 cents. That is what the cost is. And that is $106 for an average assessed value home of $250,000. That's $106. That's what you currently pay now for the levy that we're in. The new levy, we're going to ask for 7 more cents per thousand. So we're up to 49.5 cents. The reason for that, it costs, and I don't need to tell anybody, but costs are going up for everything, and we're not immune to that. So the ask is going up slightly. We're going to maintain the staffing and everything that we currently have. So yeah, there's going to be no changes except for the 7-cent increase. Then I'll let Mr. Felton talk about the DA's office.
Sure, thank you. Thank you, Sheriff. And Mr. Mayor, members of the council.
Mr. Felton, if you could step a little closer to the mic, please.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
There we go. Thank you, Sheriff, and thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Thank you so much. It's a privilege to be here again to talk about the public safety levy. And Councilor Varney, you were at the West Salem Neighborhood Association, so you've heard this already. But I appreciate your thoughts and your questions there. And Commissioner and Councilor Stapleton, I appreciate your help in the West Salem area. But this really isn't about just West Salem, because I think every council here appreciates how the blend between the West Salem, Polk County area and the folks that travel in between all of Salem understand that good public safety in Polk County really impacts everyone in the city of Salem. All the wards of Salem benefit from good public safety, and the levy impacts my office tremendously. Truly, the money that comes from that is the lifeblood of my office. It employs 3 prosecutors in my office, 2 staff to support those prosecutors, and the entire staff in my office. And really, that is about half of my criminal prosecutor division. And those particular prosecutors, really what they are funded, they do, that's my misdemeanor division. For lack of a better way to put it, it really is. And those prosecutors are the ones that are handling the shoplifting, the vandalism, the criminal trespasses. You know, even though the municipal court here in Salem handles the DUIs that come through the city of Salem, but they're the ones that handle the DUIs that handle outside of the city of Salem proper. But really in the Edgewater district, on Wallace Road, where things happen there primarily, and in the hills and the residential areas of West Salem, the things that happen there that people say really make a difference in terms of, do I want to live in West Salem? Can I put a business in West Salem? Those are the types of crimes that are really impacted by that division. They're the ones that handle those particular crimes. And when those individuals handle those particular crimes, the other prosecutors in our office are free to basically handle the higher level, the Measure 11, the high-end felonies that happen in my office, which Chief Womack's detectives handle there. They handle those cases. Those are the more experienced level people in my office. And folks, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to understand that if we didn't have those 3 prosecutors, that level of prosecutors in my office, we have 20 people total in my office, 9 prosecutors, but really a 7-person criminal prosecutor office. If we didn't have the ability to handle those sort of gateway level, entry level, misdemeanor level types of crimes, and also probation violations as well, and all the things that come with that, the diversion programs as well, the drug court, the mental health programs we do as well. All those types of things which work on integrating people out into and out of the criminal justice system here in Polk County, in the city of Salem. We would have to prioritize what we could do at a very, very different model. So, like I said, it really is the lifeblood for us to be able to run a prosecutor's office that is worthy and up to the challenge of a thriving, vital Polk County, and entire city of Salem. So I always try to think, what is it that I can truly say to the council of the city of Salem? I don't think I have to make a pitch for good public safety. I think that's already been proven to this group here. I simply ask that as your constituents ask you, what is one more thing on my property tax bill for? Because the city of Salem and its members and people, I live in the city of Salem, and I'm grateful for their support. They've been generous over the years because I think they understand, and I agree, good infrastructure is a public safety program. Good schools are a public safety program. So here's one more thing. As I ask you, Counselor, why should I support this levy? Please explain to them that it helps support good police that come over to West Salem. It supports good detectives that come over to the city of Salem that prevent crime, that solve crime, that work with the people who are experiencing houselessness, that work with our merchants who want a response to when they have problems. Because basically, when those folks come into the jail or come into a program, the baton gets passed to my office, and we work on how do we hold those folks accountable, but how do we work on making it so they don't come back into the criminal justice system as well, and the public safety system as well. So that's what it funds, and that's why, again, I am deeply grateful for the support of the people of Polk County and the support of the people of Salem who have done so and been generous with their money over these years. So again, thank you for the time, and I think that Commissioner Mordhorst really finishes up well.
Oh, and Mayor and council members, thank you for having us today. And I just want to kind of take this down to Main Street, and that's where we're at. How do we have a safe business area? And that's literally with the police officers down there keeping us safe. So as we shop on our Main Street, and we want our Main Street thriving, not surviving. And that starts with public safety. So the sheriff mentioned they're coming out on the 4th year. So this levy will replace the 5th year of the current levy, and this new levy will start as January 1. So total cost is $17.50 a year to that average assessed home of $250,000. The average home in Polk County is $230,000, but $250,000 is just more rounded. So $17.50 a year per resident on a $250,000. That's less than $2 a day, less than $1.50 a day. So it's very minimal. But I can tell you that we have a great program here. So in the DA's office, when we arrest somebody for drugs or theft or whatever the case may be, they have programs rather than just prison. We have drug court, and they have a new court assessment that takes them in right away to figure out if there's alternative plans for them. Jail is not the right answer for somebody with a mental health issue or a drug issue. They need help. We're trying to find creative ways to address that, to get them back out of their problems and into society being productive members. The sheriff mentioned coming early, that to maintain his current staff. So, Sheriff, I've asked you this numerous times, and I'm going to bring you back up here again. What's it cost you to hire somebody and get him into a car on patrol by himself?
About $150,000.
And how long does it take?
8 to 9 months.
8 to 9 months. So that's a huge part of your budget and training before you can get him alone. And then, so that also takes another patrol guy off of the line till you get him trained. The next thing is this levy keeps and maintains what we currently have. So it allows the sheriff to split up and do things and be proactive. So can you give us a rundown of your 2022 year working with Yamhill on drugs?
Yeah.
And kind of explain what's going on.
So we applied for a grant. These are things that we were able to do because we have our core function of patrol handled under the public safety levy. But we applied for a grant for a marijuana detective, and marijuana isn't, something that people think too much of as a problem, but there are some significant issues that we're running into. For instance, last year we seized about 60,000 plants over inside and outside of houses. A lot of organized crime, human trafficking, the money laundering are all things that are definitely enshrined in that, and we're able to do that because of this levy. The other thing we're able to do, we applied for a grant, is for mobile crisis. And that is something where we send a deputy and a mental health clinician out together in a car, handling at the scene, just like over here in Marion County. But we offer that to everyone inside the city, outside the city, it doesn't matter, in Polk County.
And then last but not least, I just want to tell you, it's nice when you're walking down the hallway and you see a police officer and says, thank you. And he's saying thank you because during COVID, we locked our jails up. Don't arrest anybody. We can't bring them into our jails. We have COVID. We had no idea what we were facing. Well, it gave kind of carte blanche to all of the homeless and all of the people and all the crooks because they knew that the worst they get is they're going to get cited and released and see in court, well, they never show. So I got a call from West Salem Ace Hardware. Let's bring it to home. In 2019, they lost $30,000 to theft. In 2020, it was $130,000. All of the propane tanks out front, they about lost their contract because so many were stolen. They call me and say, Commissioner, we got to do something. I brought the sheriff, the DA, Judge Hill, Skip Miller from the Salem Police Department joined us, and we just challenged them. What are we going to do? We can't keep Main Street alive if we allow this to continue. The sheriff and his team created a way to open up our jail, and we're open for business. So when you do a what we call a quality of life crime, misdemeanor, on that side of that river, you're going to jail. So when I'm walking down the hallway and I see one of the Salem police officers that I know so many of, hey, Commissioner, thank you. It's nice when you're coming down Wallace Road and you get to Edgewater, you turn right, and the guy in the back seat goes, wait a minute, aren't we going downtown? Sorry, you're in Polk County now. We're going to Dallas, but I don't want to go to Dallas. And you see this smile on the officer say, it's nice knowing that we can do our job and they have to pay for their crime. So I'm going to leave it at that thought, and we're going to open up for any questions.
Thank you, Commissioner. Are there any questions for the group? I don't see any. Sheriff?
One last thing.
You bet.
Is the ask. Obviously, we're here. We're going to all the different city councils throughout the county, Rotaries, and all different kinds of meetings. We're asking for support. If that is something that this council would be open to, I would ask that that be something you consider at a future date. But it's invaluable, the service that we can provide for the dollar figure that we get. I'm cognizant of financial restraints of everybody, but an increase of $17 on average is, in my mind, worth it.
Thank you, Sheriff. We will take that question to our legislative committee on Friday for a recommendation, and then we'll bring that back to our next council meeting with whatever the recommendation is. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We appreciate your time tonight. Thank you for being here. And with that, we are on to public comment. We have nobody signed up under number 2, but we do have somebody under item 8. So if it's all right with council, I will call that one person forward, and so they can speak now so they don't have to wait for the entire meeting. So Curtis Smith, you're welcome to come up to the microphone. Please introduce yourself. As a reminder, you have 3 minutes. The yellow light will flash when you have a minute left, and then the red light will go on when it's time's up, but there'll also be a clock playing there. So if you just stop after 3 minutes, that would be great.
Okay. Oh, I'm on. Okay, cool.
You're ready to go. Just your name and either your address or your ward for the record, please.
Certainly. My name is Curtis Smith, and I live in Morningside. I recently saw that there has been an emergency work session for implementing new revenue streams for the City Council to provide for necessary services, which I think is like really important, right? We need to be making sure that we're having these emergency sessions to plan for short-term things. But I'm really concerned that we're not critically looking at our current development patterns and habits in the city. We're taking on more eternal commitments to maintain infrastructure for places that put us in the position we're currently in. If building the way we have been building got us into this mess, I don't know why we think that it will suddenly get us out of it if we build more of it, right? On the county assessor's website, downtown Salem is generally the most tax-positive area in Salem in terms of property tax per acre. The Reed Opera House, for example, brings in almost $100,000 per acre. But compare that to Winco on Commercial Street, it brings in just over $20,000 per acre. But we're continuing to build more and more Wincos, more big box stores, more strip malls, more entire development complexes that stagnate in these neighborhoods and that essentially prohibit the wealth building feedback loop that used to drive redevelopment in places like downtown Salem. It's what made downtown Salem very productive, the productive place that it is today. I think it's very clear that the time for auto-centric development patterns is over. The time for short-term gains at the expense of future expense is over. I think the time for favoring the illusion of wealth is over. I'm not pretending to be a wildly intelligent person. I basically failed out of college, but if I have learned anything, is that in order to get out of debt, the starting spot is to stop accruing more debt. And to stop accruing eternal recurring debt that my generation and future generations will have to deal with. Salem is taking part in an infinite game of city building. I understand that Measure 5 and Measure 50 will make things difficult in terms of property tax income, but I know that there is a solution. Every city in America is facing this problem, and I believe they're all capable of overcoming it. I need all of us to start having some hard decisions and start having hard conversations that are needed to build a stronger, financially solvent town that my generation can live in down the line. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Are there any questions? All right, thank you for being here. Appreciate it. Councilor Stapleton, the consent calendar.
Thank you. I move approval of the consent calendar.
Second.
Thank you. All right, on the consent calendar today, we have item 3.1A, which is the March 13th, 2023 draft city council minutes. Item 3.2A, Gear Park Development Grant Application to the Oregon Parks and Recreation Department Local Government Grant Program. Item 3.2B, appointment of a resident commissioner to the Salem Housing Authority Commission. And number 3.3A, my favorite one of the night, Portland General Electric Drive Change Fund Grant to purchase an electric battery-powered mini street sweeper. And item 3.3B, which was added, and that is the recommended revisions to the policy statements guiding Salem's response to proposed legislation for 2023 Oregon legislative session. And that concludes the consent calendar.
Thank you, Councilor. Is there any discussion? Councilor Nishioka.
Thank you, Mayor Hoy. I don't have any discussion, but I just simply wanted to give a shout out about a couple of the items, which is for the possible grant for Gear Park. I know that I think this is something they've been looking forward to and working on for some time. So again, that was something that I wanted to just call attention to, as well as the the mini, I guess we call it the mini, electric mini sweeper. So both of these are great things. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Any other further discussion? If the recorder will please call the roll.
Counselor Stapleton?
Aye.
Counselor Nishioka?
Aye.
Counselor Phillips?
Aye.
Counselor Gwynn?
Aye.
Counselor Gonzalez, absent. Counselor Hoy?
Aye.
Counselor Nordike?
Aye.
Counselor Varney?
Aye.
Mayor Hoy?
Aye. Motion passes. All right, we are on to public hearings. Item 4A.
The Salem City Council will now conduct a public hearing for the purpose of considering the vacation of the remaining section of First Street Northwest, east of Merlark Street Northwest. The section of roadway, approximately 300 feet, is under-improved and provides limited transportation function. Vacating First Street Northwest will help spur development in the surrounding areas. The criteria applicable to the proposal set forth in SRC 255.065B1B. Testimony must be directed toward the identified criteria or other criteria the person believes to apply to the decision. Failure to raise an issue prior to the close of the public hearing in person or in writing, or failure to provide statements or evidence with sufficient specificity to provide the parties and the City Council an opportunity to respond to the issue, precludes appeal to the Land Use Board of Appeals on that issue. A similar failure to raise constitutional issues relating to proposed conditions of approval precludes an action for damages in circuit court. The hearing will begin with a staff presentation, followed by testimony from the following. The applicant is limited to 10 minutes. Applicable neighborhood association limited to 5 minutes. Other interested parties limited to 3 minutes. And the applicant may have up to 5 minutes rebuttal testimony limited to issues raised during public testimony.
Thank you. And I see we have Mr. Gamalo here with us.
Good evening. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Just give me one moment. Okay. Okay.
Any way you can make that a little bigger?
Yeah, I'm working on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like I have a nice
There we
monitor
are.
here, but I know the counselors don't.
How's that?
That's great.
Great.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Anthony Gamalo. I'm a senior transportation planner for Public Works. I'd like to enter the staff report into the record. Here tonight for a public hearing to consider the city-initiated vacation of First Street Northwest. First Street Northwest is this area here to the southwest of the map. It's between Merlark Avenue Northwest and Melinda Avenue Northwest. The northeastern segment of First Street Northwest was vacated back in 2015. That's the area marked previous vacation to accommodate the Goodwill development. This is what First Street looks like. It is unimproved with no curb, sidewalk, or stormwater collection facilities. The reason for the vacation is that any effort to construct a new building on any of the adjoining or abutting lots would require a developer to upgrade First Street Northwest to current City of Salem local street classification standards. That is a significant barrier to developing the adjacent lots, which are largely vacant. Vacating First Street will not impede vehicle or pedestrian connectivity. First Street does not extend to the southwest of the area either. Vehicle and pedestrian connectivity is currently provided by Second Street Northwest, which is 150 feet to the north. The Urban Renewal Agency is funding improvements to upgrade Second Street Northwest to city standards all the way from Wallace to Girth, which would complete that pedestrian vehicle connection to Wallace Road. That project is scheduled to begin construction this summer. First Street is presently used by one business to access rear parking. That's this area here. Staff recommends an access easement be attached as a condition of the vacation to maintain that access. There is a 10-inch sanitary sewer line running through the center of the area to be vacated. Since the writing of the staff report, staff also discovered the presence of a 1-inch water line. The first reading staff report and accompanying ordinance will be updated to include that water line. So staff recommends that a utility easement also be attached as a condition of the vacation. So staff recommendation is to approve vacation of First Street Northwest with the condition that access and utility easements be provided. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gamallo. We do have one person signed up for testimony, so we'll hear them and then we'll get back to questions
Certainly.
for you. Okay, we have Brittany Randall. Brittany, come on up. Please introduce yourself. You have 3 minutes. And if you could hit that button there so the green light comes on, that would be great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Brittany Randall, and you can find me at 12150 Jefferson Highway, 99E, Southeast. And I'm here to testify in support of the vacation of First Street Northwest. This portion of First Street under review, as staff pointed out, is the last remaining section, and all other portions have previously been vacated. I'm representing the owner of the property abutting First Street to the north, so we've had conversations with city staff about not being able to build anything on this property because, like they say, it's pretty cumbersome to improve First Street. The property that I'm talking about was surveyed by Barker Wilson Surveying, which demonstrated that the property averages 105 feet in depth from north to south. And we have standards in Salem Revised Code for street spacing in 803030. So the improvement of First Street Northwest would immediately require an adjustment to those requirements. Let's see. It would be difficult to prove that an adjustment could be approved because demonstrating that no vehicular conflicts would arise from streets being so close together, that would be challenging. And given the effort put into the current Second Street Capital Improvement Project, having a non-conforming street that could impact the function of Second Street, not a good idea. So with that, I am encouraging you all to approve this vacation.
Thank you so much for your testimony. Are there any questions? All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And now we will go back to questions for staff. Mr. Gamallo, are there questions for him? Doesn't look like it. Do you have any closing remarks?
That's it. I'll reiterate our recommendation that we approve the vacation with the conditions.
All right. We will close the public hearing then. And Councilor Stapleton.
Thank you. I move that we approve the vacation of First Street Northwest with the condition that access and utility easements be provided.
Second.
I was really excited to see this on our agenda because I'm hoping that we don't see it on our agenda anymore and we can move forward. I say that kidding. This area of town is so prime for redevelopment, and really I'm just so excited for any kind of movement that we have that will make it easier for redevelopment, and I thank staff for their time and effort to make this happen.
Thank you, Councilor. Further discussion? If the recorder will please call the roll.
Counselor Nishioka?
Aye.
Counselor Phillips?
Aye.
Counselor Gwynn?
Aye.
Counselor Gonzalez? Absent. Counselor Hoy?
Aye.
Counselor Nordike?
Aye.
Counselor Varney?
Aye.
Counselor Stapleton?
Aye.
Mayor Hoy?
Aye. Motion passes. All right. We have no special orders of business this evening. We are on to information reports, and we'll just go in order. Anything under item 6A? 6B? Excellent. So we will go on then to, we have no first readings. Second reading, item 7.2A.
Ordinance Bill Number 3-23, an ordinance designating the Salem Civic Center located at 555 Liberty Street, Southeast Salem, Oregon, as a local historic resource. Counselor Phillips?
Aye.
Counselor Gwynn?
Aye.
Counselor Gonzalez, absent. Counselor Hoy?
Aye.
Counselor Nordike?
Aye.
Counselor Varney?
Aye.
Counselor Stapleton?
Aye.
Counselor Nishioka?
Aye.
Mayor Hoy?
Aye. Motion passes. Now is item 7.2B.
Ordinance Bill Number 6-23, an ordinance relating to parking amending SRC 50.265, 102.010, .040, .65, 0.65, .085, .105, .135, .145, .150, .155, .160, .170, .200, .205, .210, .215, .235, .240, repealing SRC 102.230. Counselor Gwynn?
Aye.
Counselor Gonzalez, absent. Counselor Hoy?
Aye.
Counselor Nordike?
Aye.
Counselor Varney?
Aye.
Counselor Stapleton?
Aye.
Counselor Nishioka?
Aye.
Counselor Phillips?
Aye.
Mayor Hoy?
Aye. Motion passes. All right. We have already dispensed with item number 8. That means we are adjourned.